Hey guys, welcome to this short 20-minute how to get comfortable with handstands practice. So handstands is something that I feel passionate about. I really love to do them. Um, and it's something that during the summer I'm always handstanding. In the winter, I'm a little out of practice. It's just too cold outside to jump up on my hands at every opportunity. But one thing that I do know is the more often you do something, the better at it you get. So if handstands is something that you're interested in and you have been wanting to get better at, then join me for this short class. So the first thing I do when starting a handstand practice is I make sure that my shoulders are open. Um, Before we get started, see if you can grab two blocks or one. If you're at the gym, you may have access to four blocks. If you are at home, maybe you have one block and three big books. But that's for later. I'll show you a little trick. Or two foam rollers that can do the trick. You'll find something at home, but you'll see what we'll use them for in a second. But if you do have two yoga blocks, if you happen to have two yoga blocks, then have them nearby. Um, Otherwise, we're going to start in tabletop position. And the first thing I want you to think about is to draw the belly in and up and tuck your tailbone down. So this is a really nice straight back position. So you're not arching your back at all, but you are drawing the belly button up. Next thing is we're going to reach the shoulders forward and let those shoulders open out. So you can do this by lifting up and down. You can come to a full stop, come to a rest here on the forehead. Just give your shoulders time to open out. Another way you can do this is to use the wall. Go up to the wall and come into like a downward dog on the wall, like a wall press. And you can effectively let your chest fall down through your straight hands. So straighten your arms, make sure your arms are straight, and just sort of let your thoracic, let your uh, back kind of drop down. And take a few breaths here. A lot of the time, if the lats are tight, we have a hard time raising the arms above the shoulders. So you may want to stretch out the lats a little bit as well, just by grabbing the elbows and finding a nice lateral stretch. So things like that. One check you can do is notice if you are flaring your ribs in order to get your arms up to the sky. And by that, when you think about a handstand shape with your arms above your head, there's a straight line going from your hands down your arm, down past your shoulder, past your serratus, your lats, all the way down past the hip bone, past the knee into the ankle. And if you're pointing your feet in a handstand, that's all going to be one line as well. So try standing up on tippy toe and see if you can align everything into one straight line. Not forgetting that your hands, of course, will be pointing up at the sky. All right, so when they're down by your sides, palms are facing down, and then you lift your arms and notice here if you can do so without lifting the rib cage. So sometimes when we lift our arms above our head, we flare the ribs, right? Which feels like a nice stretch, often feels great in the body, but it's definitely not the right shape for a handstand, or at least you can handstand this way, but you'll have more of a banana back, we call it. So see if you can pull everything into that plumb line. One great way to train that plumb line is to bring your yoga mat to a wall. And then, you guys, I'm out of practice, so I apologize for being breathless. So you lay down and then bring your arms straight on the wall, biceps by the ears, and start to mimic that handstand shape. So remember, your fingertips are going to be pointing down, and you're going to be tucking and trying to flatten the lower back a little bit against the floor, and you're pushing into the wall. So one big thing, so see how that feels for a second. Make sure that you can have your bicep by the ears, that you're straightening your back, and that there is quite little room here under your lower back because you are actively drawing your lower ribs in and bracing your core. Now, one way that we can strengthen the lower abs and the core right here in this position is to begin to work the legs. If you have leg weights at home, this is a great one to do. You're maintaining your handstand position and lifting and lowering the legs without flaring out the ribs, working on keeping those lower ribs down. You can lift both hands together. If you do that, you'll probably travel away from the wall. That's okay. So let's do 3 more leg lifts. Tap and lower, tap and lower, and tap and lower. Awesome. So those are drills you can do laying down. Um, One more thing. This is where we get a little unorthodox, but if you have 4 big books or 4 yoga blocks, or you happen to be at the gym, you can lay and make a kind of a yoga block um, cross or yoga block rectangle on your mat. And what you're going to do is lay the front of your thighs on the blocks, and then you're going to lay your triceps on top of the block. So what happens then is you see your belly is down on the mat. See if you can lift the belly up. So this is your perfect handstand position. So of course, in handstands, we always look between the thumbs, or generally look between the thumbs. So see if you can lower the belly. This is your start position, and then the work is to lift the belly up. So lower, lift, lower, lift, and then working up to a long hold. See if you can hold this for maybe 5 seconds, maybe 10, working your way up to a full minute. And carefully coming off the blocks. Now I realize not everyone has an endless supply of blocks at home. But, books work. Something similar sized to a yoga block. You can try that, see how that feels. The other thing we work on is protraction and retraction of the shoulders. So retraction, the backs of the shoulders come together and you're sort of lowering your chest down. Protraction is what we have in a handstand. We are pushing the mat away. So retract and protract. So 10 of these to help warm up the shoulders and allow things to glide and move in a healthy way. So the shoulder being one of the more complex joints in the body, you want to have this mobility through the shoulder blade to be able to lift those arms up and be able for your wrists and shoulders to support your weight. So here again, we can come to kneeling and try keeping everything in one line, drawing the belly button in and having a really nice shape. Roll out the shoulders for a moment and then take the time as well. And I harp on about this a lot in class, I know, but take this time to warm up through your wrists as well by drawing the fingers down, curling them, doing jazz hands, shaking them out, whatever it takes. The other thing I want to mention is curling the fingers like this so that when I look at what my point of contact is on the floor, I really have three layers, three lines of contact through my hand. I have the heel of my hand, the first knuckles, and then I have my fingertips. Okay, spread wide. So I have 10 little brake pads. So if you look at the hand sideways, I've got 3 levels of control in my handstand. Otherwise, if I have a flat hand and my elbow, my knee is bent, sorry, my wrist is bent this way. With the flat hand, I'm removing a lot of control from my handstand. I need those 10 fingers to be able to curl so that I can balance the handstand. So try to keep your fingers curled and think about your hand in 3 sections in a handstand. All right, so from here, you get ready to come into, the other thing about handstands is the ability to cartwheel. That's really almost like the opposite side of the coin when it comes to handstanding. And I have a hard time doing it here because I have a really low air vent. But you can practice beginning to cartwheel. You can start to bring your hands down, one foot in front, and do a little short bunny hop that way. And again, I can't really extend my legs very long here, but see if you can get some hang time. I'm not someone who did gymnastics at school, but for those of you who did gymnastics, you're going to be a lot more comfortable with just getting that cartwheel, right? So get that cartwheel going, and that's really your secret sauce when it comes to handstands, because if you can cartwheel, then as you practice, and see, I fell. As you practice, though, see, it didn't kill me. You can start to realize that, oh, gotta bail. So I'm gonna bail out in a cartwheel. Let's try it one more time. Just watch me bail out, right? So again, I gotta be careful with my air vent, but let's say gotta bail. So I'm gonna cartwheel, drop my feet to the side. So it's very rare that you go all the way over. And that's a big fear when you're doing handstands. There's of course the fear of having to bail and falling into a situation where you're going over your head. So again, if I go to a handstand, I bail using a cartwheel. Okay, so that being said, the confidence to handstand in the middle of the room comes after getting a little bit of hang time from your mat and using the wall. So let's take the first step here, which would be to come into a downward facing dog. So come into a downward dog and practice that retraction and protraction. And you'll see that protraction feels a lot better in the shoulders. So retract, feels a little odd. Protract, feels really good, right? To push the ground away. So shorten your downward dog. Bring your dominant foot forward. So if you don't know which your dominant foot is, your body will tell you, right? It's whichever foot feels better to kick up. So bring, I guess, your non-dominant foot forward, and you'll figure out with which leg does it feel more normal to kick up with. And then give yourself a couple of bunny hops. And notice that it's the leading leg, the leg that lifts, that controls whether or not you're coming down. So that leading leg is going to control. So try it both sides. Now, purists will say practice with both legs, right? Because you want to get good at it both sides. Um, Everyone's going to have a favorite leg that they like to kick off on. And, you know, if you can do it with that one leg and hold a handstand, then who really cares? I mean, over time, you're going to maybe explore using the other side, but you can get good at the skill of handstanding on whichever side works best for you, and then later bring the challenge of trying to use the other leg to kick up. So that's my recommendation, because ideally we try to always have a skill on both sides of the body, but for handstands, it doesn't really matter. So the other thing is using the wall. So here, it took me a long time to get the confidence to bunny hop like long enough and to kind of go over my head with my hips. And so that's going to be something that comes with time. One way that you can work it, so take yourself one leg distance away from the wall, more or less, and then bring your hands close to the wall. So about 6 inches away from the wall, maybe 5 inches, and then curl your fingers. Remember those 3 levels in your hands. You're going to use your favorite leg to kick upside down. And then look between your thumbs, push the ground away, and make sure that your ribs are pulled in. So chances are, if you finally get your feet on the wall and you're upside down, you're still 5 inches away from the wall. And so there's a little bit of a banana back that has to happen. And you're having to work a lot to bring the lower ribs in. But practice a few times coming onto the wall and then say to yourself, what do I have to do to get my feet off of the wall? And this is going to be about pressing your fingers in. You're going to use your fingers to lever yourself a little bit into the right shape to be able to pull those feet off the wall. So one drill for this is you flip-flop your feet. So let's try it. Point your toes, protract your shoulders, and flip-flop your feet. Until you can get some hang time off the wall or on the wall. All right, so that's almost it. One thing I want to say is when you are practicing that flipping over your head, facing the wall, you are practicing confidence. But a lot of the time, that's a little bit at the expense of alignment because when I kick up and over and my feet are on the wall, I automatically have that banana back. So once you get confident at that, then I suggest turning and walking up the wall. So again, you're going to bring your hands down to the floor. You're going to put one leg up and the other. Walk. Try to get your chest against the floor, against the wall, and then jump down. All right. Good job. It's been ages since I've done that. I've worked up a sweat. Good workout. So hopefully you enjoyed. And yeah, let me know how it goes. So roll out your shoulders, shake out your wrists if you did it along with me, and we'll see you soon for part 2.